You know what's funny? People only believe in justice when it doesn't come with a price tag. They clap when the villain falls, but only if the fall looks pretty. They cheer for truth as long as it doesn't crack their own mirrors. But you didn't just live through injustice, you were dragged through it, face down, screaming into the dirt, and nobody listened, not when it mattered. See, the world loves a survivor's story. After it's done bleeding, after you've cleaned up the scars, after you've tucked the rage under your coat and pretended to be fine. But when it was happening, when you were ripped apart by the hands of liars, snakes, cowards in masks of kindness, where were they? Where was the applause then? No one came, no one believed, and they let it happen. And you were left alone with the crime scene, while the criminals shook hands at dinner tables and smiled in photos and slept like babies. They didn't just hurt you. They manufactured your silence. They weaponized your loyalty, turned your kindness into a cage. And when you screamed, they told the world, see, look how crazy they are. They called it a misunderstanding, a phase. They gaslit your reality until you doubted your own reflection. But you knew. You always knew. You kept a ledger in your soul. You counted the betrayals, the nights you couldn't sleep, the sickening things you witnessed, the way they smiled while stabbing you in the back, then had the nerve to ask why you were bleeding. They dressed their evil in Sunday clothes, polite voices, family dinners, smiles with no soul behind them, cruelty with a fork and knife. And the world believed them because they were louder and you were quiet. But oh, the quiet ones, they forget. It's always the quiet ones who come back with proof. Now look what's happening. The whispers you screamed into the void, they've become thunder. Every single thing they did, exposed. Every smug lie, every manipulation, every mask, ripped, torn, dismantled. People are waking up, not because they suddenly care, but because now it's trending, because now it's on the screens, in the inboxes, in the group chats. Their cruelty, it's not hidden anymore, it's viral. And the same crowd that once rolled their eyes at your pain, now they're gasping in horror, now they're shocked, now they're so sorry. Now they say, I had no idea. I never thought they were like that. I can't believe they'd do that to you. Oh, now you can't believe it. Well, believe it. Because justice doesn't always ride in on a white horse. Sometimes it crawls through mud, scarred, unrecognizable, and furious. Sometimes justice isn't pretty, it's ugly, raw, poetic. And today, my dear listener, justice looks like you. You, with your ruined reputation they tried to bury. You, with your shattered trust, stitched together with rage and survival. You, who got blamed for what they did and still chose not to become like them. That's the kind of justice the world doesn't teach in classrooms. The kind forged in fire, born in betrayal, raised in silence. Justice isn't always fair, but sometimes, it's glorious. You know what happens when people finally see the truth? They panic, because if you were telling the truth all along, then that means they were complicit. They laughed at your scars. They believed the abusers. They turned your pain into gossip. And now they're appalled, not just at the cruelty, but at themselves. Because they helped it happen. They didn't speak up. They didn't look deeper. They went with the easier version of the story, the one where you were the villain. And now the whole narrative's flipped. Congratulations, you're not a villain anymore. You're a mirror, and they hate what they see in it. You see, truth has a funny way of bleeding through the cracks. You can patch it, paint over it, lock it away, but it festers until one day it erupts. And when it does, there are no more excuses, no more, "I didn't know," no more, "but they seemed so nice," because now everyone knows, and they're sick to their stomachs. Good. Let them be disgusted. Let them feel what you felt. That deep, twisting horror when you realize the people you trusted were never safe. Let them squirm in the discomfort. Let them finally understand that cruelty isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent, smiling, shaking your hand. You didn't ask to be the example. You didn't want to be the lesson, but now you are. You're the story that'll haunt them. You're the face that won't fade. You're the truth they couldn't bury. And as they sit there, ashamed, horrified, exposed, don't you dare shrink, you hear me? Don't you dare shrink. Don't you minimize what you endured just because they finally caught up. Don't clean up the mess for their comfort. Let them sit in it. Let them marinate in the realization that they applauded monsters and doubted the one who was bleeding. Let them wrestle with their guilt. You wrestled with pain, alone. Now it's their turn. And here's the part they never see coming. You didn't just survive, you changed. They wanted to break you, but they made something else instead. They forged something they can't control. They created a version of you that knows too much. A version that remembers every detail. A version that sees through the masks. A version that doesn't beg for justice anymore. Because now, you are it. You are the reckoning, the walking consequence, the chapter they can't rewrite. And that scares the hell out of them. Let them be scared. Let the weight of your truth shatter the porcelain fantasy they lived in. You didn't deserve what happened. You didn't earn that cruelty. But what you did earn, what you became because of it, that's yours now. So don't hand it back. Don't you dare become soft just to make them feel better. Don't dim your truth for people who once enjoyed your suffering. You already burned for this. So now, let it blaze. Let your story rip through the world like wildfire. Let it warn, let it cleanse, let it mark the guilty. They'll try to rewrite history with shaky hands. Suddenly they're the ones who were concerned. They'll say they always felt something was off. They'll claim they stood by you in their own way. They'll wrap themselves in the language of empathy, but it's panic in disguise. Guilt dressed as virtue, because deep down, they know what they did or didn't do. They know the silence. They remember the jokes, the whispers, the way they looked the other way when your name came up in a sentence that dripped with venom. They weren't innocent. They were comfortable, and comfort is the currency of cowards. You were never given the luxury of denial. You woke up to reality with blood in your mouth and truth clawing at your throat. You didn't get to wait and see. You were there when it happened. The betrayal, the gaslight, the slow unraveling of trust until all that was left was your own breath and the decision to keep breathing anyway. They didn't see you then. And now that the truth's gone public, they want to look. They want to ask how you're doing. They want to check in. They want to ease their guilt with a carefully crafted text or a performative post that says, "We support you." But support doesn't come after the storm has passed. Support is standing in the downpour with no umbrella, no script, no safety net. Just the raw, open wound of presence. You didn't need their pity. You needed their voice, but they gave you absence instead. And absence, it cuts deeper than the original harm. Because when the blade came down, you looked around for help and saw nothing but shadows turning their backs. You bled in front of ghosts who used to be people. Now they call it complicated. They say, "We didn't know what to believe." But belief was never the problem. It was convenience. You were inconvenient. Your pain disrupted the narrative. You didn't fit neatly in the picture, so they cropped you out. But now, your image is everywhere. The truth is unfiltered, unedited, undeniable. And they're scrambling to find the right angle to still look like the good guys in a story they helped cover up. They want you to be forgiving. They want you to be gracious in victory. They want you to be a symbol of redemption. Their redemption. But they don't understand what it cost. They think justice is just the headline, not the years that led up to it. They see the explosion, not the silent suffering that built the fuse. They didn't see the breakdowns in locked bathrooms, the therapy sessions where you couldn't speak, the friends you lost who believed the lie, the moments you questioned your own memory, the times you looked in the mirror and wondered if maybe, just maybe, you were what they said you were. But you weren't. You knew you weren't. And that knowledge, that tiny spark that refused to die, that's what they couldn't kill. That's what made you dangerous. You carried your truth like a ticking time bomb, while everyone begged you to just let it go. But silence was a slow death, and you chose fire instead. They'll call you vengeful. They'll say you're holding on to the past, but they don't realize this isn't about the past. It's about the pattern, the system, the culture that protects the polished abuser and punishes the inconvenient survivor. You're not just one voice anymore. You've become an echo chamber of every silenced scream. You're not a victim, you're a monument, and monuments don't apologize for being built on the bones of injustice. They want you to forgive and forget, because forgetting erases their discomfort. But you remember in detail, in color, in sound, every lie, every manipulation, every moment you doubted yourself because someone else decided your truth was too loud for their fragile ears. They taught you shame, but you turned it into a sword. They handed you guilt, and you melted it into armor. Now they're staring at a version of you they can't control, can't manipulate, can't redefine. You stand before them unapologetically whole, a living contradiction to every story they told to justify your suffering. You are the rupture in the script, the glitch in their fantasy, the proof that they got it wrong, that they were wrong. And people don't handle being wrong very well. They'll say, you've changed, but it's not change, it's return. Return to the version of yourself they tried to erase. The unfiltered you, the unashamed you, the undeniable you. They underestimated how long the human soul can burn before it becomes a weapon. They thought you'd stay small. They thought the pain would break you. They thought no one would believe you. And for a while, they were right. But time has a funny way of flipping the lights on at the most inconvenient hour. Now you're the spotlight, and they're squinting in the glare, not because they can't see, but because they don't want to. And that, my friend, is your power. You're not waiting to be seen anymore. You're not begging for acknowledgement. You're standing in the rubble of every lie they told about you, and building a throne, not for revenge, not for ego, but for remembrance, because your pain has a voice now, and it's louder than their denials. It's louder than their, maybe it wasn't that bad. It's louder than every fake smile they used to cover their complicity. They gave you pain. You gave it purpose. They tried to bury you. You grew roots. And now your truth has branches. It spreads into places they can't control, into conversations behind closed doors, into the unease that creeps up their spine when your name is mentioned, into the glances exchanged in rooms where your absence used to be mocked. They try to change the subject, but it lingers. It hangs in the air like smoke from a fire they swore didn't exist. Every time someone says, "Did you hear what really happened?" a piece of their illusion dies. Every time someone says, "I can't believe they did that," their mask slips. Every time someone revisits your story and feels that sting in their chest, they're tasting the truth they spat out years ago. They called you too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too angry. But anger was the language of your survival. You were fluent in it, because it was the only thing left when their silence carved you hollow. You didn't burn bridges. You watched them douse the wood in gasoline and light the match with a smile on their face. And when you refused to walk back across the ashes, they called you the problem. You remember. You remember how they twisted the narrative to protect their image. How they said you were unstable while they calculated every step. You remember the group chats you were left out of. The jokes made at your expense. The subtle digs disguised as concern. That we're just worried about you, that really meant we don't want you to speak. They thought if they said it enough, you'd believe it. That you'd doubt yourself into submission. But you didn't. You bled through your smile. You endured through clenched teeth. You became your own witness, your own courtroom, your own jury. They were too busy playing God to realize you were building your case. Every injustice, every betrayal, every moment they looked at your suffering and called it drama. You remembered. And when the time came, when truth cracked the surface, you didn't shout. You didn't scream. You let it speak for itself. The evidence was always there. They just never looked. Because to see you would mean confronting themselves. And nothing terrifies a guilty person more than reflection. They used to smirk when your name came up. Now their mouths tighten, their eyes dart, their breathing shifts. Because your presence has become a reckoning. You carry truth like a shadow now. Always there. Unseen by some. Unavoidable to others. They can't walk through the world the way they used to. Not without wondering who else knows, who else sees, who else heard the stories that were never supposed to reach the light. They hoped you'd fade, that your silence would be permanent, that your pain would make you disappear. But you didn't disappear. You expanded. You became more than the pain, more than the victim, more than the broken version they constructed in their heads. You became legend. Because legends are born when injustice meets a soul that refuses to die quietly. You are the kind of story that lives on in the tension of every lie they tell now. The kind of name that stains the tongue of every coward who once spoke over you. You are uncomfortable truth in human form, and there is no escaping you. You walk into rooms and silence falls, not because you demand it, but because your truth does. You don't even have to say a word. Your presence is a courtroom. Your survival is a sentence. And they feel it in their stomach, in their conscience, in the way they avert their eyes when someone asks, "Did you ever stand up for them?" Because they didn't, and they know it. Justice didn't arrive in a grand moment. It wasn't fireworks and camera flashes. It came slowly, through the unraveling, through the questions they can't answer, through the stories people are finally brave enough to hear. It came in the form of discomfort, of exposure, of accountability with no way out. And while they scramble to repaint the past, you don't have to lift a finger. Your truth is doing the work for you. They wrote you off, dismissed you, laughed at your pain. And now their world is paper thin and catching fire. You didn't seek revenge, you sought truth. And the truth turned into justice. Not the kind they expected, but the kind they deserved. Their timelines are cluttered with echoes they tried to bury. The ones who used your name like a punchline start posting vague quotes about healing. Suddenly they believe in accountability. Suddenly they're advocates. Suddenly they want to be seen as the kind of people who never would have allowed it if only they'd known. But they knew. They just didn't care. Not when the cruelty was entertaining. Not when your suffering made them feel powerful. Not when your silence protected their comfort. They watched the house burn and said the fire was your fault for being flammable. They measured your worth by how much you could endure without complaint. And when you finally screamed, they called it an outburst. But you weren't exploding. You were breaking free. And freedom never looks polite to the ones who built the cage. They don't deserve your softness. They don't get access to your light after dancing in the dark with your pain, like it was performance art. You remember their faces when the first cracks showed, that flash of panic behind the eyes, that shaky laugh, that let's not get into all that. You remember the gasps when others started to believe you, the frantic messages, the guilt-stained apologies written like PR statements instead of real remorse. You remember who checked in because they were scared, not because they were sorry. They want to be part of your redemption arc. They want their names in the credits without being in the story. But you were there for all of it, the real story. The ugly, raw, haunted version, the version that didn't fit their fantasy. You were there when your hands shook too hard to send a text. You were there when your heart beat like a warning siren every time you passed the places they hurt you. You were there when the world moved on like nothing happened, while you stayed frozen in the trauma they refused to see. You were there when healing felt like betrayal, when forgiving yourself meant admitting you'd been betrayed in the first place. You weren't just surviving, you were witnessing every word, every silence, every deflection, every manipulation dressed as concern. You were recording without a camera, archiving without permission. And now, the real is playing in front of eyes that once refused to look. Your truth wasn't a phase. It wasn't a mood. It wasn't a moment of weakness. It was the thread that unraveled the lie. And they are scrambling to stitch it back together with hands that have never known real accountability. They used your suffering as set dressing for their own performance. And when the audience turned on them, they acted surprised. But your pain was never a show. It was a scar that pulsed beneath your skin, while you smiled through teeth, clenched against the scream. They didn't deserve your silence. They didn't earn your endurance. And they sure as hell don't get your peace. Peace isn't something they can demand just because the truth made them uncomfortable. Peace isn't yours to give to them. It's yours to build brick by bloody brick from the wreckage they left you in. And you're building it without them, without their validation, without their permission. You're building it with rage that's matured into clarity, with grief that's turned into wisdom, with all the shattered pieces they tried to hide now glowing in the open like sacred glass. You walk through the ruins and you don't flinch anymore. You don't apologize for how loud your truth has become. You don't shrink when they whisper about you. You grow louder, brighter, sharper. Because your story doesn't need soft edges. It needs teeth. It needs truth. It needs the kind of fury that isn't interested in vengeance, only in remembrance. Not just for you, but for the ones who never got to speak, the ones still trapped in silence, the ones still bleeding behind smiles. You carry them with you. Every step forward is a rebellion. Every breath is a warning. You are living, breathing proof that the lies don't last forever. And they hate that. Because if you can rise, what does that say about everything they tried to destroy? And what it says, what it screams, is that they never had the power they thought they did. Not really. They could twist the narrative, smear your name, mock your cries, but they could never touch your core. They mistook your stillness for surrender. They didn't know that silence can be sacred, that the quietest people carry the heaviest truths, that your patience wasn't weakness, it was strategy. While they danced in the spotlight, you were underground, growing roots so deep, nothing could pull you out again. Now those roots are breaking through concrete, unstoppable, untamable, and their empire of illusions is collapsing under the weight of reality. Your reality, the one they denied, dismissed, destroyed in whispers, and you're not just standing anymore. You're rising, not for applause, not for recognition, but because you refuse to rot in the grave they dug for you. They buried you with shame. You grew with defiance. They crowned themselves righteous. You became justice, and the world is watching, appalled, disgusted, awake. They will tell this story again someday, in books, in films, in tearful interviews where they pretend they knew all along. But you'll know the truth. You'll always know.